He just pisses everybody off because he has a really good physique. He just has a really short physique. He's a short king, man. Go for him, dude. Manlet 10.0 or whatever.
I'm Coach Colton, and Jeff Nippard, you're 100% natural. You're short, you're a short king. Yay! Coach Greg, and a lot of people are triggered by this manlet's physique, and guess what? They're not talking about Coach Greg. I thought I was the most famous manlet of all, but turns out it's actually Jeff Nippard. To be fair, Greg calls himself a manlet too. I can call other people manlets because I myself identify as one. Insulting someone's manhood with a disrespecting term is just as bad as the N-word. The most important thing to a man's being is to feel significant. Using his physical appearance to mock his significance is in very bad taste. Disrespecting people based on how they were born is just bad. Nobody has a hierarchy on which is worse. It's just bad, and don't do it. Bro, we're talking about being manlets, short people, mini-me's, if you will. It's not that serious. One more thing to this point. I can't believe it's gotten this serious. Black people call each other the N-word all the time, and no one apsis offended by it. So one short guy calling another short guy a manlet is literally the exact same thing. Unless you believe a manlet is a worse thing to call someone. And so when I call myself a manlet, Jeff Nippard a manlet, anyone a manlet, I'm taking their power away. Other people like Michael Hearn, they might call me a manlet, but if I let that bother me, that is giving power to them. And so the height-enhanced people of the world, people who are over 6 feet tall, who have all the benefits, all the glories of being a tall, desirable, higher SMV valued man than a manlet, well, I am trying to take their power away by using that word, and so I get the pass. I'm allowed to call other people manlets as I identify one. And ever so often, I will in fact call someone a black natural athlete. For example, Chris Bumstead. Just because you all don't believe that he's a black natural athlete does not believe that he isn't one. And so Coach Colton, who's essentially a carbon copy of Coach Greg, except he identifies as a black natural athlete, just like Chris Bumstead, without being the black or the natural, well, he makes video after video after video highlighting Coach Greg. And so he has a plan. He's a man with a plan. Make all the same videos as Coach Greg, and talk about the science, yap a lot, and every one of Coach Greg's haters gonna come and flock to his channel. And so in today's video, it's a good one. No one had ever thought of doing this before. It's a natty or not on none other than, well, of course, you guessed it, it's Jeff Nippard. It has never been done before. Coach Greg has never defended Jeff Nippard. After all I do is make fun of how hard he trains, call him a manlet, and so on. I've never agreed with anything he's ever said. And so, of course, I would have made a natty or not, and of course I would have said he's a fake natty. Or did I, in fact, say the opposite?
I'm here to answer the question, is Jeff Nippard really natural? What do I think? I think he's natural. I don't think he's used anything.
I've made more references to Jeff Nippard being natural than almost any other YouTuber. But Coach Greg is a hater.
Maybe there's something even more important that I missed. After all, I didn't ask any questions about height or facial masculinity.
And do all manlets have annoying voices? Jeff Nippard with that annoying voice doesn't sound like Coach Greg. Coach Greg sounds like the parrot from Aladdin. And so can one person with an annoying voice call out another person with an annoying voice? Well, let's see. Leave a comment in the description. Do I get the pass for calling people out on having a horrible voice?
The guy who Greg Doucette calls a manlet because legitimately he's like 5'5".
And by legitimately 5'5", he means in heels. Jeff Nippard, I do believe, is shorter than 5'5". Remember, I've met him in person, I've known him for years, and I'm 5'6". And I am significantly taller, at least in my own mind I am, taller than Jeff Nippard.
Everyone seems to come back around after a year or two where they continue to suggest that he is not natural.
And by everyone, he means everyone except for Coach Greg. Coach Greg has defended him in every single video I've said he's natural. I've never in any video said that Jeff Nippard is on performance-enhancing drugs of any kind. Not even recreational drugs or drugs of any kind.
I would say that he is natural, and he just pisses everybody off because he has a really good physique.
And so no, he doesn't piss everyone off because he has a really good physique. Now remember, many people say he doesn't have a great physique. They're saying, how could he have a great physique? He's 5'5". I've heard the same thing. I continue to tell people I have great genetics. And that is one of the main reasons why I have an amazing physique. And they're like, bro, how can you have great genetics? You're 5'6". And it's like, bro, you can be short and have great genetics for building muscle at the same time. Last I checked, Derek Lunsford, the Mr. Olympia champion, when I met Derek, when I trained with him at the gym, he's the exact same height as Coach Greg, 5'6", but the only difference is he's 235 pounds and I'm 185 pounds.
I think after we talk about them, it'll be very clear as to why he is natural and why specifically Jeff Nippard has probably never taken a single drug in his life.
Is that in fact a compliment? If you tell somebody, you look like somebody that's never done any drugs ever. Are you saying he's a nerd, that he's perhaps not cool, that he's not doing the M, he's not partying with Togi? Greg goddamn Doucette.
Greg goddamn Doucette.
When people tell you that you could never have done a drug ever, it makes you feel like you're just not cool. That perhaps you're not a baddie.
His last show that he did, this show was when he was, I believe, 22 years old, which he looks very good. Notably, not anywhere lean enough to be highly competitive.
And so by not anywhere nearly lean enough to be highly competitive, he perhaps doesn't know that he won. Last I checked, when you beat everyone else in the competition, that makes you highly competitive. Jeff Nippard won. We were training at the same gym during this time. I would watch him in the gym. He would flex. I would be very impressed. So impressed that even I was wondering, is bro actually natural? But I then considered, well, I have a lot more muscle than this guy and I'm 100% natural. And so why couldn't he be natural? And remember, I'm stating that I was natural at that time. I am not stating that I am natural at this moment at 49 years of age. But back when I was in my 20s and competing as Jeff Nippard was, remember, I in fact was bigger than Jeff. And so I'm thinking, if I can do it, why can't he? And so when I watched him at the gym, couple days out from competition, and he's flexing his quads, in particular the calves were batty. I was thinking, bro has the genetics. Oftentimes, shorter individuals, in particular manlets like Jeff Nippard, if they have very big calf muscles, then they build more muscle more easily than most people. If you were to do anthropometric measurements, remember, I have a master's in kinesiology. Jeff is not the only one who studied kinesiology. Oh, I forgot, he didn't study kinesiology. He was in school to be a dentist. I was in school to do exactly what I'm doing, to do research on studies and so on. And so I actually have training this. And what we've discovered was that people who have larger calf circumferences, biceps, and so on before they begin training, they have an easier time putting on muscle. Is that shocking to you? If you have massive calves and biceps before even starting training, probably going to be easier for you to put on muscle than somebody who has very skinny calves and biceps. I mean, does that not make logical sense? But, oh, we need science to prove it. And so they yap and yap and yap. They can't shut up for things that we already know. And so Jeff Nippard, he has amazing genetics. He was a powerlifting and bodybuilding champion. Both of them. Remind you of anyone? He kind of seems like a shorter version of Coach Greg. And if you look at his parents are jacked. Mom and dad, stronger and better built than friggin' last time. Compare Jeff's parents to mine, you're thinking, how did Coach Greg build any muscle? And so, of course, many of you think I've been a fake natty all this time. Or that I've perhaps been on Turk Builder since the age of 10. Of which I am on Turk Builder right now. Code Greg, 15% off. And there is, in fact, a money-back guarantee. If you use it and don't like it, you can get your money back. Remember, the difference between our turkesterone and other people's turkesterone is ours actually has turkesterone. We have the third-party labs to prove it. Ours is from Uzbekistan. The majority of people out there are getting their stuff from China. It's not actually turkesterone. It's various ecdysteroids. And so if you want the real deal, if you want the real thing, code Greg 15% off Turk builder harder than last time.
People are saying because he makes money off his physique, there's no doubt that he's not natural.
Just because you make money off your physique doesn't mean you're automatically enhanced. Isn't it reasonable to assume that if a guy like Mike O'Hearn can develop that physique and maintain it for all those years while being 100% natural, or that Chris Bumstead could be a black natural athlete, that Jeff Nippard couldn't build the size that he did while being natural? I mean, everyone knows that Mike O'Hearn and Chris Bumstead are 100% natural, just like Simeon Panda.
The bro is diced and has none of the negative effects of being diced that natties would.
And I'm reading this. His stage weight was like 135 pounds. Jesus, you twinks need to train harder if you think this isn't natty. He was actually 143 pounds. I remember talking to him. He was in the 140s before the competition, lost a little bit of water, and so 143 pounds on stage.
First of all, people don't typically realize is how short he is, and specifically how much he weighs.
And so apparently people don't realize just how short Jeff actually is. I'm pretty sure they realize how short he is. People actually think that I'm shorter than I am. People meet me in person and are like, oh, I thought you were actually shorter. I thought you were 5'4". I'm like, I've been saying I'm 5'6", and it's not the regular 5'6". And so most men who are actually 5'6", every single one of them, they say that they're 5'8". 5'8", 5'9", and so most men who are 5'6" are going to tell you that they're 5'8" or possibly 5'9". They simply lie. Most men who are shorter add a couple inches, not to the downstairs, but to their height. And why do you think that is? Because women inherently go for taller men. And so if you say you're taller, you're going to get more women, especially online dating and so on. But Coach Greg, I don't need to do that. I make up for it in so many other ways. Trust me, the ladies, they know this. The ladies who've been with Coach Greg, they know I don't need to lie and add inches.
In specific, this video is several weeks post and he steps on the scale. He weighs 164 pounds.
And so remember, he's 163 pounds several weeks following the competition. His body fat is clearly above 10%. He's holding onto water. He's a little bit bloated. And so does it not make sense realistically that somebody who's natural could get up to a whopping 164 pounds? I mean, Eder, show the people how Coach Greg looked when he was 100% natural. Various photos, perhaps when I was 18, in my mid-20s, or perhaps even 30. And so you can see at various times throughout my life, I'm continuing to make progress. Slow and steady, gaining muscle every single year.
Now, I can't actually find where he talks about his current weight when he is on stage. This was, 8 years ago.
And so he could have messaged Coach Greg, hey, it's Colton. Coach Greg, I know you know about everything in this world. And so could you tell me, how much did Jeff Nippard weigh when he competed on stage? I know that you know this guy. You guys used to be friends. And so perhaps you could tell me, do me a solid.
He has been rumored to be somewhere around 135 to 145 pounds.
And so, yes, 143 pounds is somewhere between 135 and 145 pounds.
You really have to understand how small of a person that is. Like that is the size of most female bodies.
Most female bodies, perhaps in other countries, but in North America, 135 to 145 pounds. That's not the average female. The average female's fat. And so Colton, Coach Greg knows his shit. And yeah, your 8,000 subs, most of which perhaps hate Coach Greg because they all like to flock to the same subscribers. And because they all like to flock to the same channels, they're perhaps going to agree with you. Coach Colton knows so much more than Coach Greg. He's more knowledgeable, educated, he studied more, and so he has more experience. And so let's listen to him. Coach Greg, he doesn't know anything. I mean, he's all washed up. And I learned yesterday that I'm in fact Generation X. And so think of the X-Men. X-Men were cool. And so Coach Greg is cool. That's how it works.
Something you'll notice is that they're pretty much all the same size, if not bigger than Jeff himself. What you will see is that Jeff has better conditioning. He has more muscle fullness.
And so notice earlier he said he doesn't have enough conditioning to be competitive, but in this video where he's competing against several other competitors, he says he beats them in conditioning. And so why do you think that is? It's because you have all been brainwashed into thinking that this is not lean. You're thinking unless you have 4% body fat, you look like Chris Bumstead on stage, that you're not lean. That if you look like Coach Greg, that this physique is mid. It's not mid. I have an elite level physique. And I'm not saying it to brag. I'm just saying it to be honest. And why do I have this physique? Well, primarily because of my genetics and the fact that I've been training for 39 years.
And then this brings me into my second point, is that his family's genetics are insane.
And so Jeff has amazing genetics. Yeah, not for height, but he does for muscle. And if Jeff were to take steroids, he would get clearly more jacked than last time. So Jeff, if you'd like to take the challenge, 30 days on Turk Builder, or better yet, use Derek's Turk Plus for 30 days, and then use our Uzbekistan Turkesterone in Turk Builder. And tell us the difference. How do you look? How do you feel? How did it help you train harder than last time in the gym? And don't forget, don't be shy. You can tell us of all the negative side effects. If you got more anxiety, if you couldn't sleep, do tell everything.
But let's look at his mom. She's fucking yoked.
Look at the arms, people. And so is it really shocking that Jeff Nippard would have a lot of muscle while being natural with a mom looking like that?
My mom, Denise, has been weight training for about 30 years and has built herself a pretty impressive physique naturally. She also set the Canadian national bench press record in 2015.
And so his mom is setting Canadian national records in bench press with a couple of months of training. But Jeff Nippard couldn't develop that physique while being natural. Do you not see the genetics that this family possesses? Think about it, people. She's almost doing as many push-ups as Coach Greg, and this woman is 50. I'm almost 50. Am I in fact as old as... Am I Jeff Nippard's father? Dang it, I shouldn't have went out to get that milk.
All these pictures of people comparing Mike Israetel to Jeff himself, saying that how is Jeff, as a natural, able to stack up with someone who very openly abuses androgens?
And so people are saying they shouldn't be this close in size if one is abusing performance-enhancing drugs and the other is 100% natural. Now remember, Mike Israetel is about 5'6", Jeff Nippard about 5'4". We'll round up to 5'5". Jeff Nippard is closer to the camera. His feet are closer to the camera and he's to the right, which is in direct line with the camera. Therefore, he's going to be made to look that much bigger. And if we know their actual body weights, Jeff Nippard at his heaviest is perhaps 175 pounds. Mike Israetel, as he's posted, 237 pounds. And so that's at least 60 pounds of difference. And remember, Mike Israetel is in fact leaner than Jeff. And so Mike Israetel likely has more than 60 pounds extra lean tissue than does Jeff Nippard. 60 pounds. Oh, they're about the same size. That's like saying Coach Greg is just about as big as C-Bum. No, I'm not.
Whoever taught Mike posing, he's crunching his chest down. He's not pulling his sternum up. Jeff's arms look big, but that's because he's pressing them against his body.
And don't forget about the aesthetics. If you have a smaller waist, wider shoulders, bigger arms, for example, Usain Farhat, at 5'11", 175 pounds, he appears that much bigger. It's all illusions, guys.
Also another point though, Jeff has shorter limbs. And when you have shorter limbs, the muscle fibers that my, 6'2" have an has to stretch from my shoulder, and so those muscle fibers get pulled very taut, and that means those muscle fibers are going to lay a lot flatter.
And so bros coping, Colton, you need to touch grass. You have small looking arms because your arms are small. It's not because their arms are so long and the muscle is stretched out longer and it looks flat. It's because you're not jacked. And so, yeah, taller people are going to say, oh, the short people, they have it so easy. They show up to the gym and they get jacked. Tall people, they don't get jacked. And so Andrew Jacked, who's going to compete in Olympia, is he not jacked? Is he not 6 feet tall? What about Samson Dota? Oh, and heavens forbid, C-Bum. He's so short. Oh, I know who else is short. Wesley Vissers. Wait a minute. Most of the top bodybuilders are actually tall. Yeah, there's a couple short guys out there. Derek Lunsford, Hadi Chopin. But for the most part, bodybuilders at the championship level, they're actually taller than average. If you look back at the history of the Mr. Olympia champions, on average, they're not 5'6" manlets. Some of them were, rarely, but most guys are taller. And so I'm sorry, the excuses of I'm tall, I can't build muscle, they don't work on Coach Greg.
Always with natural guys, what the dead giveaway is the legs. If you just look at his legs, they pale in comparison to Mike by tenfold.
Yet every freaking YouTuber out there that talks about what happens when you're in steroids is, oh, they get cap delts and traps. The androgen receptor. That's what happens. You can tell they're not natural because of their shoulders and their traps. But Coach Colton, nope. It's the quads. When you're natural, you can't develop great looking quads. Do you all see Damo? Do you follow his story? He went from dad to Chad. Maybe he didn't do that. He went from Chad to dad. He bench pressed 405. In his day, he benched 405. Then he went on a cut. Lost perhaps 50 plus pounds and made it to the stage. And what did you notice the most? he had shredded quads. What do you notice? What I notice is the quads. Damien, 100% natural. And so just because you're natural doesn't mean you're going to have small quads and a large upper body.
In my opinion, Jeff Nippard is completely natural. I don't think he's ever taken any kind of gear. He just has a really short physique. He's the short king, man. Go for him, dude. Manlet 10.0 or whatever.
I'm Coach Colton, and Jeff Nippard, you're 100% natural. You're short king. Yay!
I don't think it's necessarily that he's taking gear. He's just tiny. And so his body is shrunk down to here. His muscles are shrunk down to here. I mean,
and so he's not on gear. He's just tiny. It's just his muscles are shrunk down on a shorter limb size. If he were as tall as Coach Colton and had 6 foot plus long arms, then his muscles would lay flat because they would be more stretched out. Great logical thinking, Coach Colton.
Imagine how easy it would be if let's just take my body right now, shrink it down to, 10 inches from here, and then see what my muscles look like. Just maintain their mass.
It doesn't work like that. That's not how it works. You can't just shorten your body and pretend that all the muscles are going to be condensed on a smaller frame. When you grow taller, you have bigger muscles. Take Thor, for example, the mountain. Literally over 400 pounds, 6'8". Do you really think that that guy would have so much bigger muscles if he were shorter? Imagine how strong he would be if only he hadn't had to deadlift the bar that far. What an unfair advantage. 6'8". The man has to push the bar off his chest, has to go 3 feet. And the deadlift, oh my goodness, how could he possibly deadlift over 1,000 pounds? The man has to pull so far. Yet he has the world record in the deadlift. And why do you think that is? Because he's so big, so massive. And those muscles, when you're on a taller frame, they're going to look bigger. And so Colton, if you want to have bigger muscles, get bigger muscles. That's how it works.
And that's not necessarily how it exactly works, but it's a pretty good indicator as to why someone who is shorter might look a lot bigger.
And so thankfully at the end of that yap, and he says that's not actually how it works. Why did you say it if it's not how it works?
And everyone else is like 5'5", 5'6", 5'7". They're not tall guys.
Everyone is 5'5", 5'6", 5'7". How tall do you think Ronnie Coleman is? He won Mr. Olympia 8 times. What about Arnold Schwarzenegger? What about Phil Heath? Do you think any of these guys are 5'6" manlets? And yes, there are some short kings that managed to win the Olympia despite being short. Hadi Chopin, Derek Lunsford, Dexter Jackson. But for the most part, the guys are taller, at least average height, or perhaps a little bit more.
But if you like this video and you want to take some steroids, I suggest you stick around and learn all there is to learn.
And so if you want to learn how to take steroids, he says stick around and learn from Coach Colton, because after all, he has so much knowledge from the decades of being in the trenches, coaching professional bodybuilders, coaching amateurs, being a high-level amateur himself. He's likely set numerous records in powerlifting and bodybuilding, and he's far more educated on everything to do with bodybuilding, powerlifting, and use of performance-enhancing drugs than anyone on YouTube. And I'm being sarcastic, clearly. And so hopefully Coach Colton makes another reaction video to this. Remember, I made a video about Colton in the past, and he absolutely adored it. He was such a fan of Coach Greg promoting him on bodybuilding. And so here lies the secret, guys. Make lots of videos and talk about Coach Greg. It's cool right now. It's trending to make videos putting Coach Greg down. After all, I am in fact a manlet. And so we can poke fun of Coach Greg. Clearly he has no knowledge. He doesn't know what he's doing. But somehow this short little manlet with no knowledge, no brain, no intelligence whatsoever, no backstory, no skills at all in bodybuilding, nothing in powerlifting, he somehow managed to get 2 million followers and close to 1 billion views on YouTube. Oh, and follow me on Bilibili. I have over 600,000 followers, and Snapchat almost 200,000 followers. And don't forget Turk Builder and Geo2 Max, some of my favorite supplements that people like to trash me on, to say that it's snake oil, that it doesn't work, even though we have a money-back guarantee and third-party testing proving that it is what it is. It's testosterone from Uzbekistan. It's not the testosterone people pretend is testosterone coming from China. It's from Uzbekistan. Turk Builder, Coach Greg, 15% off. Click the link in the description. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost your algorithm. Please like the video if you liked it. It's what it's all about. Like the video. And if you haven't, watch one of those 2 loops. And of course, the cookbooks, the Circle Diet book, the training book. And of course, I'm a life and dating coach. You can hit me up on my website. If you're looking for coaching plans by me and my team, get to the website. We got a free diet and training program. It's close to 50 pages. Get to the website. It's free. And until next time, I am out.